ghetto intro. This is the first episode of the podcast with me. Not sure what I want y'all to call me, but let's just say Chris Chaos. This week was the Star Wars week, so I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt. May the 4th, may the 5th, may the 8th be with you. And the main topic today I wanted to discuss or talk about, not really discuss because nobody's here with me to discuss, is trauma. Now, there's different kinds of trauma that I've experienced personally in my life and that I've seen people experience. There's a self-induced, where you cause yourself the trauma. And then there's trauma that's non-self-induced, that are it's out of your hands and it just happens to you. Excuse me. So, self-induced is a little more tricky. So I'll talk about some of my personal non-self-induced trauma. I like to start off with saying rest in peace to a family member of mine who recently killed himself. He shot himself in the head in his mom's house. He had 3 kids. He's about my age, I believe. And I would be a liar if I said I never thought about suicide. Although, because of many close experiences I've had with death that were not in my control, I've come to realize after 31 years of life that maybe there's a reason I'm here. And just thinking about my family, my son, my sister, my mom, my dad, my friends, my cousins, my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts, I couldn't do that to them. Although right now I'm not in a low state of mind, so it's easier to say now than it is in those times. But it's one thing that you should think about. One way that I don't know what his trauma was. Apparently he was very depressed. A lot of times that comes from trauma. Some trauma you block out and you're not reminded of it until you're older and your sibling tells you about something crazy that happened and you're like, what? That's happened to me. But other trauma you remember. Sometimes it's not even that. It doesn't have to be, like what you hear on TV where you got beat or something like that. That, of course, that is trauma. And then there's mental and there's physical abuse, which lead to trauma and traumatic experiences. So, nobody's perfect, and I love my parents, but they were young when they had me, and they used to fight a lot, argue, sometimes physical. My dad never beat my mom, but I lived in fear that one day he could possibly go over the edge and maybe accidentally or purposely kill her. Now that I think about it, I don't think he could have ever done that. Or would have. But, crazier shit had happened. So I lived with that fear. And finally, my parents divorced whenever I left the house and my sister left the house. I guess they were waiting for us to leave, but they finally got a divorce. And now they're good friends, which I love them for that. And they're great grandparents to my son, which I love them for that too. And they're very supportive financially, emotionally. Of course, they're like regular parents and they nag but they always have the best intentions. They've come to the realization that cannabis use isn't the worst thing in the world, especially when it comes to dealing with things like depression and trauma. So, a traumatic experience that I put myself through were these times when I used to drink alcohol, which I still do occasionally, but not like I used to. This is a energy drink, organic. So I used to drink alcohol, and then I would drink it to get fucked up, pretty much. And there was one instance back when Four Locos were legally allowed to have caffeine in them, and there were blackouts in a can. And when I was younger, in my 20s, my relationship with my son's mother was not what you would call the most healthy. So one night we got into it, I guess, and I was angry and I was drinking. And I drank the Four Loko, or 2 or 3. And after getting into it, I went to a strip club. And at that strip club, I saw another cousin there randomly. And that cousin had a Grey Goose in one hand, and he had some Red Bulls in his other hand. He was like, "What's up?" And I was distraught because at the time I loved my son's mom, and even though I was the main cause of effect of all the negative effects that happened, because my ideas of a relationship were based on an unhealthy addiction to porn, and it made me good at sex, but it made me bad in relationships, especially in my teens and 20s. So anyway, it was fucked up because one of my friends, a family friend who's pretty close to me, he was underage, so I left him outside. I borrowed some money from him and I left him outside, and I said, "Hey, I'll be right back." I don't know how long I was in the strip club. I blacked out in the strip club. The last thing I remember was being at a urinal, asking somebody if they knew where to get some yayo, which I used to do. Which was, I think, the first drug I did at 15. It's probably cocaine. Not proud of. And I did it for several reasons. One, whether I realized it or not, was to self-medicate, which it was the wrong choice because I didn't used to have as much anxiety back then as I do now, and I think that anxiety was probably drug induced, all the chemicals, and therefore I lacked chemicals in my brain that I used to produce naturally that were probably in my brain more often because of the drugs, different drugs. I went from doing cocaine first, and then I did weed or alcohol. I'm not sure which one was first, and I was 15. I also had sex at 15, which I'm not proud of. With a girl who was maybe a year or two younger than me. And I don't even know if it was her first time. Which doesn't matter. You know, this shit matters. And I feel bad for her because she had trauma too. Now that I think about it, she was afraid of her dad, but for different reasons than I was afraid of mine. maybe it's a common thing in Hispanic households, the machismo aspect of it. And my father didn't have a father from the time he was like 7. His father left him, his 2 sisters, and his mom to start another family in another town in Mexico. My mother, her father is an alcoholic who is a gangster. She was afraid of him. But he was there the whole time. He's a lot more chill now, just like my dad is more chill now. Just like I'm more chill now. Although, because my grandpa's in pain almost constantly, I wish he would partake in cannabis and appreciate the benefits. He tried CBD, but it's just not strong enough for him. But he's so old school that he doesn't want anything with THC, so I gotta trick him or something. I don't recommend people starting to smoke weed as young as I did. This is lapis lazuli, blue tiger eye. I keep these with me when I record or do a podcast with my friends. I'm not sure. I'm not like one of those big rock people like that. Oh, it changes your mood, but they look cool, and they were given to me as gifts, so I didn't purchase them. And they make me feel better. Along with prayer, I try to meditate, along with the cannabis. And I'm also on an anxiety medication and an antidepressant medication. It's a cancellation for a meeting that I wasn't going to go to anyway. So, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway. So the guy who was my family member who killed himself recently, he would drink a lot and he would party a lot. And I told my mom, I have another cousin. Well, I'm a lot closer with him than the one who killed himself. I didn't really even know this one, which I feel bad, but I have like 1 million family members on all sides of my family, so I can't know everybody. Anyway, one of my cousins has begun and advocates microdosing with psilocybin for depression and anxiety. And if it was easier for me to get, I'd probably do the same. The experiences I've had with psilocybin have all been positive. They were never microdose experiences. They were dosing of the macro sort. And my experiences weren't what I expected. I expected what the movies showed me that would happen. I even tried acid, and it wasn't what I expected either. It's a lot less than what I expected, but it was a positive experience I had. Each time I did acid, each time I did psilocybin, which is also called magic mushrooms. And all these medicines have been used for thousands of years, including cannabis. And there's something about existence, life, being, consciousness, and changing that consciousness to another consciousness via chemical, which has a reaction. We have a receptor in our brain for these particular chemicals for the reaction. Now, whether those chemicals are, good or not good, they're there. So we have cannabinoid receptors for cannabis, and I guess we have receptors for all the other chemicals that I've tried. I've never done crack. I don't judge anybody who has. Um, never smoked ice or snorted or shot of heroin. Um, I used to take Vicodin painkillers. Uh, I don't know if I really had a problem with it, but it was probably just because I wasn't they weren't easy to get. I used to sip lean back when doctors would prescribe bottles of it. Codeine, promethazine before the rappers started rapping all about it on the radio, and it became a big deal. And plus, they used to kind of upset my stomach. Um, which of course hydrocodone, the painkiller, and promethazine codeine are both derivatives of the opium plant, which is related to heroin. Um, so they're opioids. They're more addictive. But for me, the first time I got stoned was not the first time I smoked weed, but the first time I got stoned was it was like falling in love. I was 15. I was with he was my best friend. And I fucked that up in high school later on. I have so many regrets, but when I look back or when I see some of these people who I fucked over, whether it was on accident or on purpose, usually on accident, because I don't want to fuck people over, even to save my own ass. But there was one time where it was an accident where he kind of got in trouble because of me. We both got in trouble. I'll tell that story later. But the first time I got high, we was a blunt, and a friend of ours rolled the blunt for us. And when we smoked it in my backyard, my parents' backyard, I was coughing so hard I had to turn on the water hose and just drink from it. And then after that subsided, I had already been rapping since I was like 12. That used to be my dream. And so anyway, by that time I'd already been rapping for a while. So with that blunt, with that high, I freestyled for hours, I feel like, and it was all gold. But of course, it might have been gibberish. But my friend was listening, and he was like, going along with it. He was playing Xbox, and I was just freestyling, listening to beats and shit. It also felt like I was missing that from my life. When I was young, even when I was like, I guess it was whenever I was smoking weed, but I used to have stomach issues from anxiety, I feel like. But I would prescribe Nexium, which is for gastritis, and it helped. It went away, so maybe it was just gastritis. I do know, though, that your stomach is directly connected to like your emotions. So when you feel anxious, it's definitely connected to the gut. And that's why people can give themselves ulcers, and that's what we were afraid I had. Thank God it wasn't. So anyway, it was like something I was missing, and I guess it was because of the trauma I had gone through, seeing how my parents fought, and me and my little sister being in the middle of it sometimes. And it helped. It helped and it hurt. And I have to be 100% because I'm not one of these people who are like, oh yeah, everybody should smoke weed. It's just the best thing to do. It's a end all be all, because everybody is different, and everybody's chemicals and everybody's DNA and everybody's experiences and everybody's trauma is different. If I could go back in time, I would have waited to smoke weed till I was about 18 or 21. I feel like my brain would have been more developed. So as it wasn't, I developed needing it, I feel like. But it could be worse. There's worse things to need, to be addicted to. And people will argue that to death. And I'm probably not addicted physically, maybe, but I feel like I'm one of the 1% that has gotten addicted. But I would rather be happy and broke than have money and be miserable. And cannabis is so expensive. It's like smoking gold and shit. So in a way, it's held me back. In a way, it's also helped me in many ways. I believe from my father and even my mother's father, in my DNA, I have some anger issues, and the cannabis helps. But there's something about what I was saying earlier. There's something about a being, a consciousness of wanting to experience another level of consciousness, another plane of existence. Because humans are not the only ones who get high. I learned the other day that turtles, who eat jellyfish all the time, get high off of the jellyfish. So they're high all the time, which is why on Finding Nemo, all those turtles were stoners, it seemed like. Dolphins, some bullshit news story that just popped up on my phone. Maybe I should read it. But anyway, dolphins, something about Italy's death toll from the coronavirus is surpassed something. Dolphins suck on pufferfish, and the poison, it gets them high, and they pass it to each other and shit. So we're not the only intelligent species in existence that alter our consciousness. Some will say get high. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know if that's whether that's good or bad. It's just the way it is. It just is what it is. And I don't like to consider myself religious because I don't attend a church. There's some things in the Bible I don't necessarily agree with. I look at Jesus and Muhammad as equals. Quran, Bible, I see the Jewish, but I see benefits in all of it. And there's extremism in everything, just like religion, just like conspiracy theories. There's always going to be extremists. And I forgot where I was going with that. See, that's one bad thing about smoking. But I have a beautiful view of these trees and the wind, and it's green, and it really helps in this time of quarantine, which I've already been an introvert, and I don't really like going out anyway. Now, certain reasons, like I haven't seen some of my friends, and even though, I didn't like going to work every day, I found positivity in the benefit of going to work and socializing. And I wonder if because of that, I've also been having very vivid dreams lately, which I heard on another podcast. A comedian was saying that he had vivid, weird dreams. They're used to going out every night and on stage and doing little shows at the Comedy Store or whatever. And I was just used to working this 8 to 4 as a teacher assistant. And so like 800 kids, and then there's like 50 staff members, and then there's the parents, and then there's visitors to the building. And as an introvert, it's not the easiest job in the world, but what is? you know. Working with kids though, because they're more innocent, you're more I feel like I'm more understanding. I worked in years with customer service, and adults who are assholes, they're stuck like that. That's their fault. Children, if they're assholes, well, they still have a chance in the world. They're not necessarily an asshole for life yet. So that makes it a little bit easier, but the kids can be assholes. I'm sure a lot of parents are realizing that now, that they're at home 24/7. But kids are cool. Sometimes kids will tell you things, and it's almost like God sent an angel and sent a message to a kid. And it's just like, I can't think of any instances right now, but it happens. And, you know, having a kid I was 19, it changed me, but I was still fucking up until about 21, 22 when that night I was talking about where I blacked out at the strip club. I kept blacking out and coming in and coming out. And at one point, I come to and the sun is up. I'm driving. I had a Hyundai Elantra, a really nice champagne colored Hyundai Elantra, 2005, tinted windows. It had a sunroof, moonroof thing. I got some pussy in that whip, man. Sorry, sounds like I'm getting chucked up on my car, but it was a beautiful car. And anyway, well, that I didn't even wreck it this time. That instance, I wrecked it later on, and that wasn't even from drinking. Anyway, so I'm driving, and a friend of mine is next to me, on the passenger side, and he's like, "Hey, man." I wonder if he's coming to it the same. I don't know. But he says, "Hey, man, I think your wheel is missing." Because there was sparks. We could see sparks. And I was like, and I knew it. I already knew it because I was like controlling it. And it was more than one. I don't know how many. But by the end of it, it was all 4 tires. So I'm like driving, and I black out again. I come to, and we're pulled over. I'm outside of my vehicle, as is my homie. And there's this cop, this fucking angel of a cop, an angel sent from the Lord himself. Whether you want to call him Jehovah or Allah or the universe or Jesus or Buddha, and I know that's not. Anyway, he said, "Get the fuck out of here." And me, my dumbass, still drunk, it's like, oh, I'm trying to get, because thank God these glasses still work, because I haven't been to the eye. Like, I have anxiety about going to get new glasses. I have anxiety. I've been putting that shit off for years, so I hope these last forever. Anyway, one of my lenses was in the car, which I don't know how that happened. I don't know what the fuck happened. But all the wheels were gone. And he's like, "You need to get out of here." So we left. So I didn't get a DWI. That's just not fair. I could have killed somebody. I could have killed myself. I could have killed my friend. I could have been locked up. So for whatever reason, and I thank God for it, I didn't go to jail that day. So me and my homie, we were close to where I was staying at the time, which was at my uncle's house. And we walked to a donut shop. bought some donuts. I'm still totally fucked up. I call my uncle, he picks me up, we go back to the house. Me and my homie pass out for hours. We wake up and we were like, what happened? Was that shit real? And like a bad dream that became reality. It could have been worse though. It could have been a fucking horrible nightmare. Thank you, Joe. Got him. So I tell my dad, he's upset, and I don't let my friend go home because I'm afraid of how my dad's gonna react, and I don't blame him. I fucked up. So my uncle took me and my friend to my parents' house to tell my dad, and he did this cool thing where he got a plate. He said, you just treat shit like nothing, or I don't know how he said it, but he just got the plate and just dropped it. He's like, you don't give a fuck. And I think it would have been worse if my friend wasn't there. Like, he probably would have tried to fight me. And maybe not. I don't know what the fuck would have happened to my friend if I didn't force my friend to stay to go to my house. So that I didn't let him go home yet. I made him go with me to the fucking what's that shit called? The pound, wherever they keep the cars. So that I can get my lens for my glasses and any other shit I had in there. For like a month, I still feel shame. But for like a month, I walked home. I was taking classes at a community college at that time, and I was working. My son was a couple years old. Me and his mom weren't really together. We were on and off a lot. And I would walk to work. It would take like 40 minutes. I would walk to school. It would take like 40 minutes. Finally, my dad, not finally, but at one point my dad was like, why don't you just come back and stay at home because it's closer to your job? And I think I was staying there for a while. I came back to the house. We fixed the car, we got new wheels, thanks to my dad. And as much shit as I used to talk about him, man, without him, I don't know where I'd be. You know, nobody's perfect. And despite the trauma that he put me and my sister through, him and my mom, whether they realized it or not, they were doing their best and they had good intentions. And I love them. And for any bullshit that they put us through, them, I forgive them for it. So we got the wheels fixed, and that was a good car. And so at that time it was okay. It was okay for a while after that. When I really wrecked that car was later on, and I wasn't even fucked up. I was working at a check cashing joint, and I would work by myself, open and close, like 13 hours. I have to wake up early, go to sleep late. And one time I was driving. It was dark, it was night, and the way that the road was, so I could see like a light over here, the street lights, but I didn't notice the ones that were closer because they were lower from what I could see. Anyway, so I fucking going 40. I hit a car that was completely stopped at the stoplight. And I just fucking, and I took place of that car, and that car went, and went to the side of the road, man. My fucking airbag blew out. And somehow I got my car out the road, and I kind of drove it. Even though the front was all fucked up and smashed and shit, I drove it around so that I could park on the side and get out of the way. And I finally got out of my car, and I was like, I wanted to throw up. And I was like trying to lay down, and then again, and people who are non-religious and non-spiritual might think I'm crazy. Maybe they just think I'm lucky. Maybe I am. Both those things. But I think that God sent, there was this lady who was a nurse who pulled over and said, hey, you gotta sit up. And she made sure I sat up. They called the ambulance. They called the police. The lady was okay. The lady that I hit was fine, which is good. She didn't have no insurance though, so that's fucked up. Or I don't think she did. I don't know. I don't think she was from here. She was one of my people from the homeland, the motherland. So anyway, my car was totaled, and but everybody was safe, thank God. With sincerity. I don't mean to sound sarcastic, but I don't want y'all to, I mean, if you're tired of me saying that, fuck off, I don't give a shit. But to me, it's just harder to, it's just why live your life? Like if there's no God and then you die, find out that there is a God. And instead of living your life like there is a God, just in case, then you die and find out there isn't. It's better to have it and to not need it than to need it and not have it, if you know what I mean. So that and then because of all my near-death experiences and all my prayers that have been answered and shit, I have no choice. You know, I believe in the higher being and the creator. When I look at nature, when I look at squirrels, when I look at plants, when I look at sacred geometry, the way that things grow and the way from the microscopic to the massive and the similarities, and it's almost impossible to think that this shit was just an accident from a Big Bang or whatever. It's damn near impossible. I don't know where I read it or what scientist, but when I used to do a lot of research, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's my stomach. I haven't eaten shit today. I used to do a lot of research on things like trying to compare the Bible and history and philosophy and all the and conspiracy theories. But one of the things, which I fucking forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, that some scientists, there's a lot of scientists that say something had to make us, but this shit ain't no accident, bro. Now, whether that be some kind of fucking alien or God, been a creator. So for people to say that, oh, I believe in science, I don't believe in religion, or I believe in religion, I don't believe in this bullshit, bro. It's another way that the system, the government, the powers that be, the devil, they try to divide us in as many fucking possible ways as they fucking can. I mean, that they try to divide us. We're Republican and Democrat, and now they're trying to divide us on people who think everything should be opened up and everything, and everybody who thinks shit should stay closed. There's always division, but the way I see it, it's all fucking bullshit, man. I don't. As much as I loved the representation that President Obama had for our children, especially my son, I can't ignore that. But the fact is that Obama passed he repassed the Patriot Act, which was unconstitutional from the get-go. Certain aspects of it were. And also, he bombed a lot of innocent, under his command, he bombed a lot of innocent people with drones, kids and shit. So he's not what some people say he is, and they try to idolize the same way they did with George Washington. They try to put a figure in almost a godlike, almost a perfect light, but that isn't true. Oh, that's annoying text. All right, well, I'm gonna let that be the first episode. I do want to say, I know a lot of people are against cannabis, but if you're feeling depressed and suicidal, it's worth a fucking shot. That's all I'm saying. God helps, man. I know that there's people in recovery that have to do the steps, and the only way they get through it is with God. And there's something to that, man. Altering your state of conscious in a positive way can sometimes be helpful. And I think that's it, man. All right. Love y'all. Peace out. Maybe I'll do another one of these if I like this one. Yeah.